Welcome to the ISO Show, dispelling myths and sharing tips for success to improve your business with ISO standards, with your host, Mel Blackmore.
Hi, and welcome to the ISO Show. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really excited actually about recording this podcast because this is a bit of a bugbear for me that when I see a management system, I always kind of see opportunities for improvement because there always are. That's the same as the Blackmores management system as well. We've just recently updated ours and it's looking pretty awesome at the moment. But as we know, things change, and whether you're changing your policies, procedures, and evolving as a business, your management system needs to keep up to date with that. But often we go into businesses and the management system is, well, not to be rude, but it is slightly archaic, okay? And it is in desperate need of a makeover and a revamp. So you might want to ask the question, is your management system a carbon copy of an ISO standard? I know that's a really cheeky question to ask, but believe me, we've seen some management systems actually starting at 4.0. And that's because that's where the standard begins. It's literally a carbon copy of the standard, okay, which absolutely horrifies me, if I'm perfectly honest, because it's just crazy, isn't it? You wouldn't start a business report at 4.0, so why start your management system at 4.0? But the worst thing about all of this, I think, is that the management system isn't a reflection of what the business actually does. It's a document that you could literally get anywhere, because it could apply to any business rather than your own unique business. Your business deserves better. Your employees deserve better. Now, I don't want to preach here, but I just want to kind of stress, and you probably hear the passion in my voice, the importance of having a unique, bespoke management system just for your business, okay, that really does serve you. Because your ISO management system is your business's way of saying, this is what we stand for. This is our vision, our values and processes. And yes, these are our standards of best practice. Now, don't get me wrong, you will still need to have all of those elements that comply with particular ISO standards that you're certified to. And we've covered this in previous episodes when we've had series on how to implement ISO standards, and where the standards say shall, you must. Okay, so it's about tying in those requirements along with your own business's requirements. And as we know, the ISO standards, they do ask you to do that. So it's what the standards requirements and your requirements are as a business. Okay. Now, don't get me wrong, your ISO management system may have served its purpose when it was first implemented, and that was to get you certified. Okay. Primarily, that was probably the main reason, which was to get certified and win a tender or a contract. And you may have had, dare I say, an inexperienced ISO consultant that you were working with that created it as a carbon copy of an ISO standard, or more often than not, just an inexperienced employee who was tasked with implementing an ISO standard for the very first time. And I get that, and I'm sure that they did their very best, but what you're possibly left with is a manual that quite simply isn't fit for purpose. Okay, it's not serving your business. And in some respects, it's having more of a negative impact on your business rather than a positive impact. Okay, and so there's a risk there, isn't there, to your business? So from a negative point of view, who wants to read a procedure called context or even understand or comply with it? Okay, the management system should read like it's part of your company's DNA. Use your language. Make sure that your culture is reflected in it as well. Now, if you think it's time to revamp your ISO management system, this is just a quick plug here, we are offering at Blackmores a free review and consultation. Just contact us via the show notes. So there'll be a link in the show notes and how you can get in contact with us here at Blackmores. Okay, so there's no obligation there. We're happy to do a free review and consultation. Now, your management system might just need updating. It might not be archaic. It might just need a bit of a refresh because your company's evolved. Okay, and we know over the last couple of years, businesses that have stood still haven't really survived. Okay, we've had to adapt during these difficult times during COVID. Whether that's through remote working, making use of new technologies, or just changing the way that we use technology so that we can deliver our services to a higher standard to our clients. So it's really common, when a company has certain changes that you automatically update your management system. But we know that doesn't always happen straight away. And before long, you can get a backlog. Your management system may need to be updated because you've grown through acquisition. And you need to integrate the newly acquired business into your management system framework. Or you may have created new functions within the business, like key account management or distribution of goods. But likewise, you may have reduced a function's capacity. For example, you may outsource certain services now, like payroll or HR, where previously they were a part of your management system. But all of these changes do need to be reflected in your management system. Another thing to add, which I found when I was a quality manager many years ago, which is about 20 years ago now, sometimes things would get initiated without me knowing about it. And you might think, well, people initiate things. Well, yes, but you need to have good communication. So any opportunities for improvement across a business, you do need to be made aware of them, because there may be a knock-on effect to policies, procedures. We may need to create new procedures and templates, etc. So it's about just being kept in the loop with any new business improvement initiatives. So, for example, it could be a carbon reduction plan or a business continuity plan, but it's not actually part of the business management system. So in effect, if it's not part of any type of system, it just gets kind of left by the wayside. It's not part of the way that you run your business. So the danger here is that it could easily get ignored. It might not be taken seriously. Whereas if it's part of your business's management system, it becomes part of the way that you do things, whether that's on a daily, weekly or monthly basis. It doesn't really matter. Now, granted, I appreciate it's not easy trying to capture everything that's going on in your business, and you don't need to document everything that's going on in your business either. It's only really those areas that will either add value or reduce risk. I'll repeat that again. Only create your policies, procedures, templates if it's going to add value or reduce risk. Otherwise, it's a waste of time. Okay, and I'll provide some examples of that. So let's look at the adding value piece. So there isn't an ISO standard. I mean, as far as I'm aware, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm more than happy to get any feedback on this from iSocial listeners, but there isn't any ISO that I'm aware of that says that you should have a social media policy in place. A lot of businesses do, but you don't have to. As far as I'm aware, there isn't a standard that says that. And you might think, well, what's the point in that? Well, if your company thinks that could add value, to systemize your social media operations so it runs like a well-oiled machine, why not? Because you could potentially find a number of ways that it could add value. One is raising the company's profile. Secondly, giving you a competitive edge. Thirdly, being seen as a thought leader. Okay, that's going to add value to your organisation in terms of its reputation. And then also, finally, about potentially winning new business from social media if you're doing it in the right way. So quite often we'll get leads from LinkedIn. We track and monitor it because we have the systems that enable us to do that. So why wouldn't you capture your standards for the management of social media if it would help to standardise best practice and provide a blueprint for your social media communications across your business? Now, it doesn't need to be a policy or a procedure. It could be an awesome online checklist that's completed on, again, could be a daily, weekly, monthly basis, quarterly even. So putting this into context at Blackmores, we've got 2 online templates, which in effect are checklists, in Bob, our Blackmores operational base. Okay, so this is our go-to place for tracking, recording, making sure that we're all completing our activities as a business and we've got a complete dashboard on our business performance and how we're getting on. So for social media, this can then be used to extract data to help you to create an automated dashboard. I mean, that's what we're doing to manage our social media performance. You might think, well, why does this matter? Well, from this data, we can make decisions, which is exactly what Steph Churchman, our comms manager, does on a weekly basis, so she can analyse and adjust our social media communications, which it could be the time of day that message is sent, it could be the type of message. Now, I know that I'm getting right into the detail. However, I just wanted to really make a point and, to stress that the reason that we've introduced these controls in this area is because it adds value to our business. It's important to us. So I'm not saying that you should do this. Each business is completely different. I just wanted to provide an example of something we've introduced to add value to our management system. There isn't necessarily a requirement of ISO 9001, but we set our standards high in this area, and that's the way that we've systemised our social media activity. Now, in some organisations, this could also be used to introduce risk mitigation. So remember I said, when you're revamping your management system, if you're looking at adding anything, just make sure that it's to either add value or to reduce risk. And there isn't anything to stop you from taking a ton of stuff out of your management system. Quite often that's where we begin, with taking out all the stuff that doesn't actually serve you. There's no purpose to it. So if we look at risk mitigation, we look at that example of social media policy, for example. So a lot of organisations do have social media policies because that then stipulates who can and who cannot communicate about your business affairs. Because in some cases, again, the risk expands when you've got more and more employees, and it's very easy for somebody to accidentally post something about your business, or it could be in a location, it could be on a business account, and there are things that could get out into the public domain that could affect your organisation's reputation. So it's just something that popped into my mind is Donald Trump. When he was in office, I bet somebody in the White House wished that there were some controls over his tweets. But there we go. I mean, so just going back to revamping your management system, there are lots of other reasons why your management system might be ready for a facelift and a revamp. It could be change of leadership, change of scope of certification. I'm sure that you can think of a few reasons of your own why your own management system may be ready for that change. But you might be one of the lucky ones, and you technically got an awesome management system. Okay, so technically it's absolutely spot on. You've covered all the requirements of the standard, plus all of your own company standards on best practice. But it's really dull and dreary, or people can't access it, they don't know where it is, they're not interested in accessing it because it looks crap. And I know I'm just kind of putting this out there because we do come across these systems as well. And that's because it's a series of Word and Excel documents, which actually doesn't really entice anyone to get enthusiastic about it. And you might be thinking, well, that's what we do as a business. And that's the status quo, isn't that what everybody else does? Well, no, they don't. A lot of organisations do add a bit of sparkle. They bring something special, something about their business, whether it's the branding, the style, bringing it, into their kind of their way of working, their culture. They bring something else to it that makes their management system stand out from the crowd. And we see some amazing ones. I mean, some that you wouldn't even recognise as a management system. They are phenomenal, okay? And we've helped our clients to create some of those as well, by the way. Now, you might be thinking, but how do I do that? I'm an ISO professional. I haven't got a creative or imaginative bone in my body. I get that. I'm probably one of those. But don't worry. I mean, enlist the support from those that do have these talents. Okay, this could be somebody in your marketing team. It could be comms manager. Or you could consider outsourcing to a branding expert. So your ISO management system, as I mentioned, could and should be a reflection of your company's DNA. It deserves it. And so do your employees. It should be something that you feel really proud to have created and managed on behalf of your company. So if you think it's time to revamp your ISO system, Just a reminder, we are offering a free review and consultation. Just contact us via the link in the ISO show notes or go into www.blackmoresuk.com. And also, as I mentioned in a previous podcast, we have a wealth of resources over in the ISology Hub. So the ISology Hub is unique. It's a membership for all things ISO, from e-learning to video tutorials, handbooks, checklists, you name it. We're adding content in there every single week. And I'd also like to mention a special offer that we've just introduced, that if you sign up for an ISO support plan, you can get free access to the ISology Hub for 6 months. And if you're thinking, what's an ISO support plan? We're going to be covering that in another episode, but we have covered it on where it all began with the ISO support plan. But ultimately, this is where you can outsource certain aspects of your ISO management system so that we can take care of your ISO system maintenance needs, including revamping and giving your ISO management system a big update. So thank you so much for listening, and don't forget to leave a review. If some of the things that I've mentioned today hit the spot and there was or had any aha moments and things that you resonate with, I hope you found it useful. And I'll be recording some other episodes on how to upgrade your management system over the coming week. But thank you once again for listening. Don't forget to subscribe as well if you don't want to miss on any future episodes. It's really easy to do. So if you're listening on iTunes, for example, you just hit the plus button and you automatically get the latest episodes. Or if you're on SoundCloud, just click on an orange follow on button and again, you'll get them all in your SoundCloud player every single week. Okay, thanks once again, and I look forward to catching up with you on the next ISO show.
Looking to use ISO standards to drive better business practice? Contact us at blackmoresuk.com to access further information and book your free 15-minute call.